Sports fans anywhere can earn a nationally recognized degree from Penn State online. Whether you're starting or finishing your degree, study where and when it's convenient for you. Choose from more than 125 programs to become a top prospect in your field and advance your career. Learn more at worldcampusinfo.com. Penn State World Campus, a world of possibilities. Online. Visit worldcampusinfo.com today. That's worldcampusinfo.com.
We are back and better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. There will be all of those laughs along the way, but we begin with this. It is now over, a week unlike any other in NFL history, maybe in the history of any sport, with patriotism and free speech and the President of the United States and our most popular pastime all coming together in ways that we had never seen before. And so before we go forward, or backwards, I should say, into last night's game, Mike, we go forward in a different sort of way. I think the question is, where does all of that go from here? And the answer to me is, it's anybody's guess.
Yeah, that's absolutely the answer. I mean, we know news cycles. We'll move on to something else, unless the president keeps commenting and the players, keep taking it the way they're going to take it and want to say united against what he has to say, which I don't see happening, but you never know. So I think it goes to what we talked about yesterday. A team like the Jets, where Josh McCown said, I have no idea, and a team like the Raiders, where Donald Penn said it was a one-week thing. We go back to doing whatever you were doing before that. So I don't know. It depends on each team. I mean, the big story yesterday was it seemed all the talking and meanderings of the Pittsburgh Steelers on what was actually going on and why Alessandro, Villanueva was by himself. Al, as everybody calls him, was by himself, and he's apologizing. I mean, that thing turned into an absolute mess. But everything else, I just think it goes back to what teams want to do. There are some teams where they don't want the players kneeling at all. The Dallas Cowboys is one of them. The Carolina Panthers is another one. There's, I'm sure, other teams out there as well. So what will happen? Will those players stay in the locker room? Will anything change pre this past weekend, or will it just go back to what it was? Those that want to kneel will kneel. Those that want to put their hand on the shoulder of the guy that kneels will do that, and we'll go back to doing that again. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right. Will there be as much emphasis on it going forward as there was in week 2 of this season, or will it be what it was in week 3 of this season? Will this kind of energy surrounding it start to dissipate? I don't know the answer. My inclination would be to say, as you said, without any further event to further it, that it would start to dissipate. At least in the minds of the public, people move on to things pretty quickly. But if there's one thing that we've seen, it is that these things don't get dropped so easily by some of the people that are involved, particularly in this case by the president, who I think likes the attention that he got for this, and will perhaps continue to try to further it. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if in the next few days we see something that provokes a further response. The next NFL game, of course, is Thursday night. It'll be the Bears and the Packers in a renewal of the longest-standing rivalry in the history of the sport.
I'd be interested to know. In one way, I'm interested to know, and another way, I'm interested to move on. Quite honestly, if people, all the people that are taking sides on this, if anybody on the side of you should never kneel and disrespect the flag, no matter what your thought is, you're disrespecting the military and you shouldn't do it. That whole argument, if they were appeased is the wrong word, satisfied by what the Cowboys did. The Cowboys all linked arms, in case you didn't see it. They all took a knee before the national anthem. They did it on the field. They all got down on the knee before the flag came out and before the national anthem. And then before the national anthem was played, they stood up, went to the sideline, and every one of them stood as the flag came out and the national anthem played. And Jerry Jones, I'm sure we have the sound, and we'll play it.
We're going to play it in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so, and then we'll hear what Jerry Jones said. But so they knelt to show unity and then stood for the national anthem. So for those that are, will never understand why the millionaire players are doing what they're doing and they're disrespecting the flag, even though they say it's not about the military, it's about something else. I wonder if those people are appeased by this, where was it the best of both worlds? We showed unity, and then we stood for the national anthem. I don't know. again, this is each person's individual decision to decide what they thought of it.
Look, and I agree with you. It's an interesting question, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot of that response again. You're going to hear Jerry Jones and the explanation of how they arrived at what they decided to do last night in a moment. And then we are going to spend most of this morning within the lines of football games and basketball games and other normal things, because that's the milieu in which we live.
Yep.
At the end of the day, this is not what I didn't get into this, so I could sit here and talk about presidential politics. I know you didn't either, but this was a time when, as I said in the open, these things came together in an unprecedented fashion, and I don't know if they're going to come apart. I will say this. The world of football, which is one in which, you made your living, you transformed your life, right? I mean, from from where you began to where you are now, and in some ways, me too. You and I are what we are in large part because we were pretty good at talking about football from the day we started together. And while I never played it or anything like that, it is a sport I love and everything. I think they acquitted themselves in general as a league very, very well. I think that the way that they responded to what I think they perceived as an attack on the entirety of their foundation, I think they responded for the most part in appropriate, respectful but strong and powerful ways. I know that Goodell, who was just the source of endless mockery now, so you can't even mention his name without people rolling their eyes. But the one comment that I did see from him yesterday, I don't know where exactly it is he said it, but he said, "I'm proud of the league. I'm proud of the way we responded to this." And I think that is an accurate way to come out. I think the National Football League as a whole, the overwhelming majority of the owners, the overwhelming majority of the players, I think they handled this extraordinarily difficult situation very well.
I do as well, and there were a lot more darts thrown at them, by people. Some people, again, it depends on what side of the fence you're on, and especially for those people that can't get talked to the other side no matter what. When we keep saying the whole key of this is to listen, there are those that don't want to, and certainly that's your prerogative, and you can just hate them for kneeling down and call them self-serving millionaires and whatever you're doing, or the other side can say, I understand what they're doing, and go from there. I mean, nothing's changed from yesterday to today, and I don't know what else will change. Now, are things changing in their communities? That's something I don't know. I know a lot of players do a lot of good for a lot of communities. Is this part of it? Will this continue? Will this continue to help? We'll see. We'll see in each community. I'm happy to move on, but I'm sure we will continue to talk about it. The tough part now, quite honestly, is we're talking politics. Now, unbelievably, we have to go to the legal system and talk about a judge. How about that for a segue?
That's well done.
Thank you.
Off the top.
All rise. Aaron Judge hit 2 yesterday, giving him 50 on the season. Mike, he is the home run hittingest rookie in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Mark McGwire hit 49 in 1987 as a rookie. So Aaron Judge, who went through just a horrific September where he was striking out all the time and wondered, the pitchers adjusted to him. And kudos to him, the 25-year-old rookie adjusting back and starting to knock the ball out of the park. He started the month with 37 home runs. So that's the second fewest for any member of the 50 home runs in a season club. In 1995, Albert Bell hit 50 home runs for the Indians after entering September with 33 home runs. The only other Yankee players to hit 50 home runs in a season.
This is quite a statistic.
Yes, it is. Babe Ruth, 4 times. Mickey Mantle, 2 times. And then Roger Maris and A-Rod as well. So, and then the other part of that, as the Yankees steamed toward the postseason, we talked about Judge being the face of the first half, and then again that kind of dissipated. Stanton became the long ball guy. He's sitting at 57 right now. Is Judge back in the MVP race? Altuve, does he have that thing locked up? We can ask Hembo and some of our other baseball people think, but I think Judge has put himself back into that conversation. As I said, I do think it may be Altuve who's leading the league in hits, in average, second, I think, in stolen bases, first in WAR for non-pitchers. So, but what he's been able to do is been, for a young player, how the pitchers just had his number. Remember, he set the record for consecutive games with a strikeout, passing pitchers in that. So it was pretty embarrassing for him. And then to make the switch and make the adjustments and come back has been impressive.
You know what? I'm correct. I agree with everything you said. I'm also focused on, you think about the long and storied history of the New York Yankees and all of the power hitters that they've had.
Yeah.
Only Ruth, Mantle, Maris, and A-Rod ever hit 50 in a season. So, Hembo, I'm curious. Get me these if you can. What was the most home runs ever hit in a season by Lou Gehrig, by Joe DiMaggio, and by Reggie Jackson. And is there another legendary Yankee slugger I'm forgetting in that group? Who else would you have thought, if you just closed your eyes and said, yeah, this guy would have hit 50 home runs in a season at some point? And obviously when Gehrig played, it was an extraordinarily rare occurrence, even when DiMaggio played to a degree. But I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear those are the only guys.
Yeah.
So we'll get those numbers for you as we go. All right, elsewhere, two teams can lock up playoff spots tonight, Mike, as we wind down to the end of the regular season.
The Cubs, they can clinch the NL Central if they win in St. Louis against the Cardinals, or if the Brewers lose against the Reds. The Cubs are eyeing their third straight postseason appearance. They could become the first reigning World Series champs to make the playoffs since the Cardinals in 2012. The last team to win its division the year after winning the World Series was the 2009 Phillies. The Twins, how about them? This is a story right here. They can clinch it tonight with a win against the Indians and an Angels loss to the White Sox. The Twins are looking for their first playoff appearance since 2010. They are also looking to become the first team in Major League Baseball history to go from a 100-plus losing season the year before to the playoffs. They lost 103 games last year. The most before that had been the Braves in 90, the Diamondbacks in 98, and the Diamondbacks in 2010 with 97 wins. They can go from 103 wins to the postseason. That's impressive.
People forget how bad the Braves were for so long before they became as good as they were, but it's a tremendous turnaround for the Twins. I have those home run numbers for you in a minute, too. Elsewhere, here's terrific news.
Yes, it is.
Todd Frazier, who hit the screaming line drive up the left field or the third base line that hit the little girl at Yankee Stadium the other day, said he has spoken to the family and that she's doing better.
Yeah, and that hopefully the father said that the hard stuff is behind them now. Hopefully she'll be getting out very soon from the hospital. Again, we don't know any full details of just what had happened to her, but Frazier said he has been texting back and forth. He said with the dad, the father has been very gracious with texting him and keeping him kind of in the loop with what's going on. He's hoping to meet with the family when she gets out of the hospital and such as well. So that's great news.
Of course.
Question.
It's an interesting thing because no one would blame him. Obviously, Todd Frazier didn't do anything wrong. He's up there doing his job, and it happens. But it's a strange thought to put yourself in his shoes and to know that this happened as a result of a ball that you had. Again, no one in their right mind is blaming him for doing anything wrong. I just wonder, as an athlete, you probably can't put yourself in that position. It would never happen in your sport. Like I remember when you hit Jeff Hostetler and he didn't get up, you didn't feel bad, but he's not a 4-year-old girl.
Also a key thing is, he's not a 4-year-old girl. And for those that don't know, I caught Jeff Hostetler on a pass rush and knocked him out, and he got carted off the field. This is back when the spinal injuries were we saw a lot of bad things going on in the NFL, but he was moving on the field. So if he wasn't, and got carted off and wasn't moving limbs at that point, yes, that would have been a tough feeling. But a kid in the stands, oh my God! I mean, you're a human being. If you're Todd Frazier, I'd have done it. I think people would be doing exactly what he's doing and wanting to know how she is.
And finally, to the game last night where the Cowboys needed a win and they got one on the road, 28-17 on Monday Night Football in Arizona, and all the details on this game are to come, Mike. But if you were watching last night, you saw a first quarter that you said to yourself, oh my goodness, the Cowboys stink. They got blown out by Denver last week. They have no offense at all. And then to their credit, they turned it around.
They absolutely did. But let me tell you what, you're right. The first half, 41 yards rushing, 25 yards passing. Here's your first half stats, and this is where, but you can go into the locker room and say, gang, all this happened and look what's going on. You could look at it from the positive and the negative. The Cardinals had 152 yards to Dallas's 57, and the time of possession in the first half, 19 minutes, 34 seconds to 9 minutes, 41 seconds, dominated by the Cardinals. But the score was 7-7.
And that is Off the Top with Mike and Mike, as we'll get more deeply into that game as we go right here. Off the Top with us, we're brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel. Get a big gift card with every trip you buy. You will love Upside.com. That's Upside.com. Let me very quickly close the loop, just because I brought it up, on all of the Yankees that hit 40 home runs in a season. So I had said I would have guessed that Gehrig, that DiMaggio, and that Reggie would have at some point in their careers hit 50 home runs. Reggie, to my surprise, the most he ever hit was 41 in a Yankee uniform in 1980. DiMaggio's biggest home run season, he had 46 home runs in 1937. Gehrig had 49 home runs twice in 34 and 36. And then other Yankees, Tino Martinez, Jason Giambi, and Curtis Granderson all hit 40 or more home runs in a season in a Yankee uniform. So just to close the loop on that stat, again, with Aaron Judge getting to 50 yesterday. But the top story this morning, of course, Cowboys and Cardinals, and we'll begin it on the field, Mike. And as we were just discussing, a win the Cowboys desperately needed, and they did it behind their quarterback. Zeke Elliott didn't really get loose last night. No. His quarterback had a tremendous second half.
Yeah, he did. You know, there's still, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, you still may be scratching your head a little bit. Though this is what – now, it's not like teams weren't trying to do this last year, you know, when Zeke Elliott was running all over the place just to try and stop the run. But in the end, you know, the Cowboys did average under 4 yards per carry. They had under 100 yards. They had 99 yards rushing the ball. So, you know, with Zeke Elliott getting 80 of those on 22 carries. So they're certainly not that running game that we have been used to. But Dak Prescott really came through in the second half. First half, and the thing, too, is they didn't have the ball a lot in this game. So they had to make hay pretty quickly with their time of possession. They had to score points. They still only had the ball for 23 minutes in this game to 37 minutes for the Arizona Cardinals. So they had to get it done, and he did it a lot out of the pocket, which was impressive. Sometimes forced out, sometimes I think he feels more comfortable out there. A couple of read options as well on his score where he flipped over, did a great job of hiding the ball in the gut of Zeke Elliott, really sucking in the defense to give him a clear run until the goal line when he got flipped. But passing outside the pocket really was impressive. So, again, you got to make your bones in the pocket. But that's where you become that threat. When you can be out of the pocket, you can run, or you can be out of the pocket and you can pass. Something he did 37-yarder to Bryce Butler for a touchdown in the fourth quarter of that game.
What a dart that was.
It was a fantastic throw and a nice job by Butler going up and high pointing that ball and keeping the ball away from the defender. But, you know, for the after the Denver game, and that's what you do when there's only 16 games, you do, oh my God, they're going to be way better than we thought to, they're really going to come down this year. This is what we do week after week. And you're right, in the first quarter, even all the way to the first half, even though the score was tied, Cardinals blew an opportunity, touchdown pass called back, missed field goal to have the lead at halftime. But the Cowboys were not moving the ball. So you know what? Credit that defense. Defense had 6 sacks in this game. The defense did a nice job keeping the offense in this game till the offense kind of got untracked a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, to the point on Dak again, out of his 183 passing yards last night, 120 of them came from outside the pocket. So on the move, that's a career high for him, and he spread the wealth around last night. He had 13 completions to 7 different players. No one had more than 3. And watching the game, our Steve Young was impressed.
You know, this was the statement game after the Denver kind of debacle. All of them they never got punched in the mouth like that, even last year. So everyone's talking, well, what's wrong? Is it Dak? Can he handle it? And he just, to your point, came out like a veteran. Let's just not panic, because it started slow, just kind of kept at it. And I think his ability to move the pocket was the difference.
You know, and obviously what you do with the Cowboys, especially after last year, you talk about that offense and what they were able to do. But I really think you got to give the defense a lot of love in what they did. Carson Palmer in this game in the first half was 15 of 18 for 145 yards. Again, they only had 7 points, though, but he had a good completion percentage. The second half, he was 14 of 30 for 180 yards. And remember, he was sacked 6 times. 3 times by DeMarcus Lawrence in this one, who has 6.5 sacks. The most, by the way, by a Cowboy. The long history of the Cowboys, that's the most a player has had in the first 3 games at 6.5, and he leads the league. He's doing a great job, a guy that, you know, been in suspension and had some issues, as a number of the guys on the Cowboys had. But you got to give that defense a whole lot of credit. We'll talk about the offense and Dak and the O-line and the running game, but that defense I really think was the key for them last night.
Well, I'm going to let you make a choice on that then. We'll put, by the way, Steve Young at the mics, brought to you by Dave & Buster's. Watch the games and play the games at your football headquarters with Dave & Buster's. So you mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence. Again, 3 sacks. He's the second Cowboy player with 3 sacks on Monday Night Football, joining Ed Too Tall Jones in a game in 87 against the Giants. So we could put him in the zone. We are asked by our friends at AutoZone to put someone in the zone. I'm going to give you 3 options. One of them is Dak Prescott, who, again, spread it out last night. night in a game in which his team really needed it, came up with some big throws, and had 120 passing yards from outside the pocket. We could give it to DeMarcus Lawrence, who again had 3 sacks last night, or we could give it to the grizzled veteran in a losing cause. Larry Fitzgerald was so ridiculously good last night. 13 catches on 15 targets, 149 yards and a touchdown, and without question the catch of the season thus far.
Yeah.
The play where he dives in front of the defender and wrestles it away.
3rd and 18, and it's a 24-yard completion. Yeah,
is the catch of the year in the NFL to this point. So who would you like to put in the zone?
Because he's on the clearly on the last right around the last hole of his career. Let's go with Larry Fitzgerald on that one. No disrespect to DeMarcus.
We thought he was on the last hole. We thought he was putting on 17 4 years ago.
Listen, Lawrence has hopefully a lot in front of him as a player. Larry Fitzgerald, again, a guy that's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. 13 catches last night. 149 yards, moved into 8th place past Marvin Harrison for career receiving yards. So let's give him.
Let's give it to him. We'll put last night, what an unbelievable catch that was. If I'm distracted because I'm looking up at the highlight, I want to see the play again. It's Larry Fitzgerald who will put in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Drive the new Duralast GT brake pads, proven tough from the tracks to the streets and sold only at AutoZone. Get in the zone with AutoZone.
And I want to say about him, because with the bad headlines, sometimes good headlines. Sometimes we forget about the individual and the person they are. I first met Larry, actually, with my boys. They played in, I believe it was the Insight Bowl, his senior year, his last year at Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And I called that game with Mark Malone, and I brought Mike and Jake. I think it was in 2003. I think that was the year. And I brought Mike and Jake out there. And to the game, and because I was doing the game, got to talk to Larry and stuff, and it brought him to practice, and Larry met the boys at their practice. It was nice as could be. I mean, and from that moment on, we've had him on this show a ton, and I've done more than a few things with him, including the last few Super Bowls, but even through his years and my years doing this. And he's always been one of the classiest guys you would ever want to meet. He's one of those guys that you say is a better person than a football player for what he's done, how he's acted, how he's carried himself. And it's a guy, as I said, we all believe is going to walk into the Hall of Fame. When? Who knows? We know how they line up at times, but he's a Hall of Fame player. And you're right. We keep wondering if he's done, and look what he does. Just absolutely incredible of what he was able to do last night. Again, he was the offense basically for the Arizona Cardinals. So absolutely give that to him. I think he deserves it, and one of the great ones whose career is winding down.
Well said. And he was a great college player too. It was the Insight Bowl in 2002, by the way.
2002,
just found
okay.
it. Mark Malone wasn't there, but that's neither here nor
wasn't
there.
Mark Malone?
No, it wasn't. No, they just showed all the broadcasters.
Who was it?
It was Dave Barnett, Mike Golick, Bill Curry, and
right.
Dave Ryan.
I did do an Insight Bowl with Malone. It was before that, though. I know I was out in Arizona doing a game with him. It just wasn't that one.
Listen,
so
I think,
you can check it if you want. I absolutely did a game with Malone in Arizona.
By your standards, Mike, I think that was closer than we have come to expect. I think you were closer to getting that right. There it is. The following year, you did the Insight Bowl with Mark Malone.
Okay.
Play-by-play.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Take that off the screen. Who did sidelines in that game for you? It was you and Malone?
Oh, Malone, I don't know, but with Barnett, we had Michelle Tafoya was with us.
No, whatever. I'm looking at the game that you did with Malone. It was Rob Stone.
Oh, it was?
Rob Stone did sidelines.
Stone.
You in the Insight Bowl.
Yeah, we were. I was in Arizona, so I was happy.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you, whether you're at home, your business, or online. We help keep you safe with security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
All right, well, we were having so much fun, and the president has just tweeted. It's 6:28 was when he tweeted, so that's 3 minutes ago. He tweeted, ratings for NFL football are way down except before game starts when people tune in to see whether or not our country will be disrespected. Exclamation point.
Well,
so there's that.
Yeah.
Do you have a comment?
No,
I mean, I've run out of things to say at this point.
From a factual standpoint, the ratings are down. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Ratings are down in the NFL, and they're up in college football. So, people can look at that. You can usually make numbers work however you want them to work. You can say, are the ratings down for some of the horrible things that have been going on, with Mother Nature the last couple of weeks? Mm-hmm. Is that part of it? Because last year we talked about the election year. Or, are they down? Are people getting turned off by what they see? Which, again, fans have always had the power. You don't want to watch, you don't want to go, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And if it's reflecting in the ratings and we continue to see that going down, then, how will the NFL, will they adjust somehow, some way? Because it would be one thing if you'd said every sport was down, but the same sport just in college going on basically the exact same time is up. So, I mean, you can say people are, for whatever reason, turning off NFL games.
You could wonder aloud whether that's something Roger Goodell should be worried about and the NFL owner should be worried about. You could also wonder aloud if at 6:26 in the morning, the President of the United States might have other things that he could be worried about. Yeah. When Puerto Rico is underwater and we're at there's a threat of nuclear war with North Korea.
There's that side as well.
You could ask that question, I suppose, if you wanted to. But that's not what we're here to ask. That said, so, I mean, he tweeted it, so we read it.
Yep.
Okay. Can I segue from that to Too Far Tuesday?
Please.
My point is.
Yeah. Was that Too Far Tuesday?
Is that if that isn't the most ironic segue of all time? We have our hashtag Too Far Tuesday that we do every Tuesday here on Mike and Mike. So we'd like to hear what you saw this weekend and you thought went too far. Mm-hmm. That's actually not what the bit is. The bit is overreacting. So here we are on a Tuesday. Week 3 of the NFL season is now behind us, and you can let us know what it is you saw that you've decided for sure you know. Like, for example, Mike, the Cowboys running game isn't what it was a year ago, and they will not live on that this year. That might be a hashtag Too Far Tuesday. And here's one of the ways that is manifesting itself. The Cowboys last year ranked second in the NFL in time of possession, which is a huge statistic, as everybody knows, rushing attempts and everything else, and especially with a young quarterback, which they had as a rookie last year, and Dak is still a young quarterback to this point. Do you know where they rank right now in time of possession?
I'm going to say near the bottom.
They rank 28th out of 32 teams. Now, it's only a 3-week sample, and that can turn around, but it just doesn't look the same, and Zeke doesn't look the same. So a good hashtag Too Far Tuesday might be the Cowboy running game isn't going to carry them the way it did a year ago.
And you wonder what the reason is. We talk about their offensive line being either the best or one of the best, 3 Pro Bowlers. With Frederick, with Zach Martin, and Smith from the tackle to the center to the right guard. You had Lel Collins at left guard. He moved out to right tackle when Doug Free retired. So you have Chaz Green now at the left guard. So is it on the O-line? But let me tell you, against Denver just flat out whooped them. Well, you can sit there and say they had more in the box. You can do all you want. Denver beat them at the line. And the people that know that are that offensive line. They're the most realist group out there when they're watching tape, believe me, of what went on when you get beat and when you don't get beat. So it's a combination. In that game, certainly they got beat, and teams are loading up the box. But they did it some last year when Zeke was running like crazy and that O-line was blocking well, and we were highlighting them every single week, and they were forcing you to pass the ball. To the Bryce Butlers, the Des Bryants, the Jason Wittens of the world. They just didn't have a lot of time to do it last night. Credit the Cardinals for controlling the ball, but also credit, that's where I said, the Cowboys defense for keeping that score down and keeping the Cowboys in it. So where it goes, I don't know. How much is it, Zeke as well? There are those that are saying he looks overweight. I have no idea. I'm not there. I didn't step on the scale. What he does he look the same? Our team's just playing them differently. Our team's just playing them better. It could be a lot of different factors in this, but the bottom line is the results. Against Denver, they flat out got punched in the mouth. They ran better last night, but the Denver was Okay.
Yeah.
This was a line that moves people, and they didn't in that game. So it was a little bit of an eye-opening moment.
I also, and you could probably get into this better than I can, but I heard some people saying, in fact, we have a soundbite about this, guys. I'll tell you which one it is in a minute. I was reading through some of our soundbites a little while ago. I think it was from Darren Woodson when he's talking. Here it is. The Woody on the Cowboys offense, the 27-second soundbite. Get me that one, guys, and tell me in my ear when it's ready, because he's talking about Zeke and what it is specifically that Zeke does so well and why it isn't working right now. Go ahead and play that one for me, guys. This is Darren Woodson specifically on Zeke Elliott and the Cowboys running game.
If you think about the run game, Ezekiel Elliott is a one-cut running back. He sees a hole, he goes. He's not a guy that creates. So I think with that offensive line trying to figure their way out, it's going to take him some time to be the most dominant running back that he can be. Now, he broke off the one long run that we seen tonight, but you didn't see a whole lot of that tonight, maybe until a little bit late. He broke off a couple of good runs, but it's going to take some time for this offense to be what they're capable of being.
That's obviously Charles Woodson, not Dan. It just says Woodson on the piece of paper that I have, so it's my fault. I assumed incorrectly that it was Darren Woodson because of his proximity to the Cowboys. But either way, the point remains that Zeke is a one-cut running back. Yep. Is that something you can explain better than I, what that means from a defense standpoint?
Basically, you get the ball, he starts, he can stretch. Sometimes you're going to see a guard like Zach Martin pulls a decent amount, whether he pulls left across the center or he pulls right for a wide play. You get these guys to pull and stretch, and then Zeke is just going to be patient. When those guys get on their man, which they do so well. They're so well at locking on their guy. Zeke makes his move. That's what happens. Against Denver, the guys up front were getting beat more. They were getting handled more, so Zeke didn't have that place to go. And Zeke doesn't have the jitterbug moves to kind of, go left, go right, go east and west a lot.
That's the point. To be clear on what the one-cut running back means, it means he's got that burst. When he sees that hole, he hits it, and boom.
Patient.
But he's not making guys miss the way some other backs do.
He doesn't make guys miss, so when the O-line gets beat, he's not avoiding a lot of that. So he's that patient guy. You let that line do its thing, and you find that crease, that crack, and you hit it. That's his game. So, could be a little of him. Certainly some of the O-line, especially against Denver. Last night, again, was a little better, but still not what we're used to seeing out of them.
Okay, so let's hear from you. Hashtag Too Far Tuesday. We will get to the Jerry Jones soundbite that we were talking about. We have another one of these guys in a hospital watching the show, but missing the most important point. Keep the Too Far Tuesdays going as well as we roll on a Tuesday. We are a sports talk show, and when the President of the United States is tweeting about the National Football League, that rises to the level of sports news. No matter how ridiculously tired of talking about it we may be, and we can tell you are, we would not be doing our job if we did not tell you the President has tweeted again. So we read you his first tweet, which was 18 minutes ago. There's another one now from 11 minutes ago. So first, the president tweeted, ratings for NFL football are way down except before game starts when people tune in to see whether or not our country will be disrespected. I read you that one.
Right.
And then while we were in a break, he tweeted again, the booing at the NFL football game last night when the entire Dallas team dropped to its knees was loudest I have ever heard. Great anger. That's the tweet.
That's the tweet. And again, for those that didn't watch it, what the Cowboys did, all the teams, as we know, was trying to show unity throughout the weekend. They locked arms and they knelt down on the field before the flag came out and before the national anthem. That was their show of unity, of being together. And then when the flag came out and the national anthem was played, they were on the sidelines and all of them were standing. But when they knelt, they did get booed. I think people thought maybe they were going to kneel for the anthem. I don't know. I have no idea. But they did boo when they knelt, but then they stood up. And on the other side, the Cardinals all locked arms and while standing for the national anthem.
The one that I just saw on our screen, was that from President Trump also? Oh, he deleted it. Okay. So he also posted a tweet about how the Cowboys then stood up. But then he seems, and I saw that pop up on television, on our television, but I'm sitting here on his Twitter feed and it isn't there, which was what confused me. So he did tweet, but while Dallas dropped to its knees as a team, they all stood up for our national anthem. Big progress being made. We love our country. And well, he deleted that.
Yeah.
And now it's back, I'm being told. Okay, hold on.
Fun with Twitter.
But, yes, here it is. It's back again 32 seconds ago.
The one thing I will say, if I'm gathering from Jerry Jones, haven't the Cowboys always stood? Did they have anybody that ever knelt?
I believe they had not.
They had not, so nothing was new there. They, as far as, saying big progress was made, the Cowboys did exactly what they always do to the national anthem. They're a team where all the players have stood for the national anthem. So, there you go.
Anyway, that's...
why don't we hear Jerry Jones?
Let's hear Jerry Jones. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Here's Jerry Jones with an explanation. Again, Mike just explained to you what they did. They came out, they all took a knee together, then they stood up for the flag. And this was Jerry Jones' explanation.
I made my mind up on this issue that I wasn't going to comment other than I'm very proud of the fact that the Dallas Cowboys and our players have always stood for the flag and stood to the flag and the recognition of the flag always. What is important is to figure out that to do that and to show the kind of respect and the perception of respect. How could they basically, in front of a national audience, show unity and a statement for equality? And they wanted to do that. It evolved throughout the organization, particularly over the last 2 days, and it was executed.
So that was what they did. Again, they've never they've always stood for the national anthem, so they did exactly what they always have done. While some of these players on other teams have knelt or sat down, it was just before that they all knelt to show unity of what all the teams have done and players have done in regards to the president's tweets last week. So onward it goes. As you said, I said, well, we kind of move on from this and what happens next, and we said, will we hear from the president at all? And it didn't take long. It's
hilarious. And that's Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. For those of you who may have just joined us in the last few minutes, I opened the show this morning. In fact, I'll read it to you because I write these down every single day. I opened the show this morning by saying that the conclusion of my open was the question now, I guess, is where does it go from here? And Mike, to me, the answer is it's anybody's guess. And we speculated for a minute or two that things might sort of calm down and go back a little bit to the way they were before this weekend with some players protesting and most players not doing so, and the world sort of moving on from this particular part of this controversy. And we left out the caveat, unless something happens that stirs it up again. And the most obvious thing would be if the president tweeted about this again, and it only took him 20 minutes, and we've got 3 tweets and still counting this morning. I'm afraid to open my screen. I'm afraid to click over, or maybe I should be afraid to not click over, because you may miss every 30 seconds another tweet about the National Football League from the president of the United States. Go ahead.
You know what I think, take away the fact that they're NFL players and the president. What you have back and forth, in all honesty, from the human being side, is you have a bunch of A-type personalities, don't you? You have guys who are playing who got called out and are saying, wait a minute, only we can call each other out, not somebody on the outside can call us out. So they fired back at an A personality in the president. There's no doubt he has an A personality, right? That he says, you're going to call me out? Well, I'm going to keep hammering away at you. I mean, so this is kind of forgetting the positions, and all are in pretty powerful positions, I would say. Donald Trump in the most powerful, obviously, of position. But these are A personality people that kind of won't let it go back and forth on one another. That's what it seems. That's what it seems like to me. If you took away titles and you just knew people that had A personalities, and one fired off something, the other said, "Oh, not today," and fired something back. Oh, you're going to fire back? Well, I'm going to fire back at you. That's where it seems we are right now.
Yes,
you just have NFL players, NFL League, and President of the United States attached to it, which really kind of makes you go, wow, is this really going on right now?
It does. It makes you, that's exactly what it makes you do. I said it yesterday. It feels even more true today. We are living in the middle of a reality show that has actual consequences. Like, this stuff matters. We sit here and we read these tweets, and there comes a point where you almost want to laugh because it all seems so ludicrous, but this stuff actually matters. This stuff affects people. All right, we're just going to have to move on.
Hopefully these little tweets won't back and forth, but who knows? I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. No, it's bringing people together. It's a wonderful way of unifying our nation, bringing people together, finding people who have a fundamental disagreement, and finding a way to bring them together rather than driving a stake right between them to make sure that everyone gets on their own side. All right. We'll
Feel
be right
better?
back.
First time skydiving? Sure is. Okay, you just open the door like this and you jump. Wait. Should we be like in tandem? Tandem? That's a great idea. Are you a certified instructor? No, but I love parachutes and I love people. Here we go.
You wouldn't take chances with an uncertified skydiving instructor. Don't do it with your finances. Find a certified financial planner professional today at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP. Work with the highest standard.